The San Antonio Spurs just became the scariest team in the NBA, and right now, the league can't decide whether this transformation is genius or a complete mistake. This franchise went from tanking for draft picks to reaching the Western Conference Finals in 3 years flat. We're breaking down how they built one of the youngest rosters in the league through back-to-back top draft picks, how they survived a health scare that almost ended their best player's career, and how one phone call from their general manager landed them an all-star point guard. When you see exactly how they built this roster piece by piece, you start realizing that every single move that got them here was planned years before anyone was even paying attention. There's a moment in Game 6 of the 2026 Western Conference Semifinals that tells you everything you need to know about where the Spurs team is right now. It's the fourth quarter. San Antonio is up 30 points on Minnesota's home floor, and there's 8 minutes still left on the clock. Minnesota's coach, Chris Finch, has seen enough, so he pulls every starter off the floor. All of a sudden, Anthony Edwards, one of the most competitive players in the entire NBA, gets up from the bench, walks over to the San Antonio side of the court, and starts dapping up every single Spurs player and coach one by one. The moment went viral instantly. Former players went on television and criticized him for it. Dirk Nowitzki and Udonis Haslem both said a real leader would never do that with 8 minutes still on the clock. But Edwards didn't care.
You would think that a team that has been there, they would have those habits. So the fact that they don't have those habits are very disappointing to me.
Final score was 139-109. Stephon Castle had 32 points and 11 rebounds. De'Aaron Fox added 21. Victor Wembanyama in 27 minutes finished with 19 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 blocks, barely breaking a sweat in an elimination game. So it wasn't a close series. San Antonio won it 4-2, and it never really looked threatened. Anthony Edwards, one of the best players in the world, has been dragging the Timberwolves deep into the playoffs for 3 straight years. Yet, he looked at this Spurs team and decided mid-game that there was no point fighting anymore. The question is, how did San Antonio get here so fast? That kind of turnaround doesn't happen by accident, and it didn't happen overnight either. The Spurs had been quietly building toward this moment for years, before anyone outside of San Antonio was paying attention. It started with a complete teardown. Between 2020 and 23, the Spurs shed veterans, cleared cap space, and accumulated draft picks at a rate that would make most front offices uncomfortable. They traded DeJounte Murray, a legitimate all-star, to Atlanta for 3 first-round picks. They sent Jakob Poeltl back to Toronto for 3 more. By the time the 23 draft lottery came out, San Antonio had stockpiled so many picks that even a bad outcome would have left them in decent shape. The lottery came, and they won first overall pick for the 23 NBA draft. And with the first pick, they selected Victor Wembanyama, a 7'4" French teenager that most draft experts called the greatest prospect they'd ever seen. Those were big words for a kid who hadn't played a single NBA minute yet. Then the season started, and he proved every single one of them right. He averaged 21.4 points, 10.6 rebounds, and a league-leading 3.6 blocks per game. As a 19-year-old in his first NBA season, he was already the best shot blocker in the entire league. The Spurs still lost a lot of games that year, but that was fine. They weren't done building. In the 2024 draft, they used the 4th overall pick on Stephon Castle out of UConn, a 6'6" guard with the defensive instinct of someone who has been in the league for 5 years already. Castle won Rookie of the Year the following season. Then in 2025, they used the 2nd overall pick on Dylan Harper out of Rutgers, a guard so talented that his own teammates said he would be starting and winning Rookie of the Year on any other team in the league. So now the Spurs had 3 consecutive top 4 picks, Wembanyama, Castle, and Harper. But drafting well is one thing. What separates a good rebuild from a great one is knowing exactly when to stop being patient. And in February 2025, the Spurs made a move that told the entire league they were done waiting. The Spurs had been collecting draft picks for 4 years straight. In February 2025, they finally cashed them all in. And what they got backstunned the entire league. The target was De'Aaron Fox, one of the best point guards in the NBA. He averaged 25 points and 6 assists per game that season, and had made it very clear to the Kings that he wasn't planning on staying. His preferred destination was San Antonio, so the Kings, realizing they were losing him for nothing, opened trade talks. This is where Brian Wright, the Spurs general manager, went to work. By the time the trade talks opened, Wright had already stockpiled 31 first and second round picks. He'd been building a war chest for exactly this kind of moment, and when Fox became available, he spent 7 of those picks to get him. The Kings walked away with Zach LaVine, 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks. And the Spurs? They got an all-star point guard to play next to Wembanyama without touching any piece of the young core they'd spent years building. Fox's debut with San Antonio set the tone immediately. He finishes with 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 13 assists in his first game in a Spurs uniform. The fit with Wembanyama was obvious from the very first possession. Fox attacks downhill and draws defenders toward the paint. Wembanyama seals his man on the low block and catches lobs. The Spurs finally had their star guard, and the roster was complete. But then, 2 weeks later, everything stopped. Everything the Spurs had built was essentially centered around one person, and in February 2025, that person's life was suddenly at risk. It was an All-Star weekend in San Francisco, and Wembanyama just had competed in his first All-Star game. He's averaging 24.3 points, 11 rebounds, and a league-leading 3.8 blocks per game on the season. He's a clear favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year. Then he flew back to San Antonio. Within 48 hours of landing, the Spurs medical staff ran their routine checks and discovered that he had a deep vein thrombosis in his right shoulder. DVT is a condition where blood clumps together inside a vein and forms a dangerous blockage. In most cases, it shows up in the legs. In Wembanyama's case, it was his upper body. The doctor said it was partly linked to the unique anatomy of extremely tall athletes and the repetitive overhead movements that come with playing basketball. The risk was serious. If that clot broke loose and traveled to his lungs, he could have died. So the Spurs shut him down immediately. No contact sports, no return timeline. Just treatment, blood thinners, and waiting. He's missing the final 30 games of the season. The rebuild, the draft picks, the Fox trade, all of it was now secondary. The only thing that mattered was whether the most important player in the franchise's future was going to be okay. Luckily, by July 2025, he's cleared for full basketball activities. He comes back for the preseason in October and has 9 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 blocks in his first game. The Spurs finally breathed again. The season started and everything clicked at once. Wembanyama averaging 25 points, 11.5 rebounds, and a league-leading 3.1 blocks per game. Fox averaged 18.6 points and 6.8 assists. The Spurs finished 62-20 and ended a 6-year playoff drought in the most incredible way possible. Then the playoffs started, and things got even more interesting. Wembanyama and Fox got all the attention, but the 2 youngest players on the Spurs roster are doing something in these playoffs that nobody has been able to explain yet. Their names are Stephon and Dylan Harper. Castle's 21 years old and Harper just turned 20 in March. Together they form a backcourt so young that the Spurs starting lineup in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals had an average age of 22 years. That's not a rebuild anymore, that's a dynasty in formation. Castle took a significant leap this season. After winning Rookie of the Year in his first year, he comes back averaging 16.6 points, 7.4 assists, and 5.3 rebounds in the regular season. In the playoffs, he's been even better. 32 points and 11 rebounds in Game 6 elimination of Minnesota, 32 points again in the first round against Portland. In Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals against Oklahoma City, with De'Aaron Fox ruled out due to an ankle injury, Castle steps up and delivers 17 points, 6 rebounds, and 11 assists. Then there's Dylan Harper. The second overall pick in the 25 draft came off the bench all season, averaging 11.8 points in the regular season without complaint. His own teammates said that he should be starting and winning Rookie of the Year on any other team in the league. He bought into his role anyway, and when the playoffs started, that patience paid off. In Game 3 of the first round against Portland with Wembanyama sidelined by a concussion, Harper exploded off the bench for 27 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and a block. At 20 years old, he becomes the second youngest player in NBA history to score 20 or more points off the bench in a playoff game. The only player younger to do that was Kobe Bryant at 18. Then came Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Fox was out, so Harper started. He finishes with 24 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, and 7 steals in 47 minutes of double overtime basketball. Think about that for a second. The only two rookies in the history of the sport to put up that kind of all-around performance in a playoff game are Magic Johnson and a 20-year-old coming off the bench for San Antonio. Castle at 21, Harper at 20, and both of them are already performing at a level that draws comparisons to the most decorated names in basketball history. How do you stop a 7'4" player who can shoot threes, block shots from anywhere on the court, and already thinks faster than anyone defending him? This season, Wembanyama won the Defensive Player of the Year award unanimously. He led the league in blocks for the third straight season, averaging 25 points, 11.5 rebounds, and 3.1 blocks per game. He would finish in the top 3 in both offensive and defensive ratings alongside his team, something no other player in the league could say. Then the playoffs started and he turned it up. Through 11 playoff games, he's currently averaging 22.2 points, 11.9 rebounds, and 4 blocks per night. In Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals against OKC, Wembanyama plays 49 minutes of double-time basketball and finishes with 41 points and 24 rebounds. At 22 years old, he becomes the youngest player in NBA history to post at least 40 points and 20 rebounds in a playoff game. And the defensive numbers in these playoffs have been just as brutal. He set an NBA single-game playoff record with 12 blocks in one game against Minnesota. The Timberwolves' entire starting rotation had no answer for him. Neither did Portland in the first round. And through the first 4 games against Oklahoma City, the best team in basketball is still searching for one. Wembanyama's 22 years old. He's already won Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and is in the middle of a Western Conference Finals run that has left the entire league watching. The Spurs were rebuilding 3 years ago. Now they're one series away from the NBA Finals. And the scariest part about all of this is that Victor Wembanyama hasn't even reached his prime yet.